Oh, right, we just got back from a little weekend away in the Algarve. Got back tea time yesterday. Come back to some searing heat. Sort of 39 to get today, 40 tomorrow, 38 on Wednesday. It's a nice sort of dry heat, it's not humid, so it's not so bad, but it's, yeah, it's a bit warm. Come back in here, I want to carry on with this today. Obviously got all this section of the top wall cut out on the Thursday stroke Friday. I've just dropped this piece of wood in here, so it kind of just shows you where it's going to sit. That's exactly the height it's going to sit. So we need to cut out this front wall and then cut two pieces to length, bolt them together and drop them in, and you know, that'll get us on our way a bit. So it kind of gives you a good idea now of the sort of height we've got. You know, I've got a good, I don't know, 6 inches or so above me. It takes us to around 6'2"-ish. It's a touch low for most doorways, most modern doorways, but you know, it's, considering it was like 5'7", 5'8" before, it's going to be a lot better. We're going to put these two pieces in, and then, as I've said, we're then going to front them with two nice pieces of old wood, which I think I had a look on Thursday. I think I'm probably going to use some pieces out of the posts that were holding this big central column up in here. They look really nice and they'll fit pretty much perfect in here. We'll have a look at them at a later date or a later time today. So yeah, well, battle through the heat, get this front wall cut out, get some of these new pieces of wood put in, and go from there really. See where we get to over the next couple of days. So yeah. Right, we've got where we need to be here now, pretty much, more or less. Got this hole cut out. A bit like this side, a bit of a pain really. It's taken ages, taken about 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours to get that cut out. But we're somewhere there, so what I'm going to do now, I'll just measure it, confirm what I need. I think I'm going to need about 1.3 metres, 135, 4.5 foot roughly. We'll go and have a look at the 3 metre sections of joist that we've got upstairs, the ones that were a bit wibbly wobbly. See if we can find one reasonable one and cut that to suit and use the 2 pieces. Drop them in here. I need to bolt them together. I've got a couple of sections of sort of 10mm threaded bar with some appropriate washers and bolts. It's just to basically keep them together, you know. It's not to doesn't need to be anything drastic, just for handling really, making it easier rather than putting into separate pieces and trying to level them up and nothing. If I've got them all just as one unit, then it'll be a bit easier. So we'll get some, we'll dig a joist out, a reasonable one, get that cut, measured, do everything I've just said I'm going to do, drop it in, and we'll see where we are and kind of go from there, I think. So that noise is either helicopter or plane, I don't know which one, but it's the ones for the fires. First really hot day of the year, 39, 40 degrees. We're getting a lot of fires today, various areas around here. Coming back and forth to the river, the big river, obviously picking water up and going off and dropping it and coming back, so hopefully they'll get hold of them pretty quickly. It's just part and parcel of living here, unfortunately. Right, that's done. Well, more or less. A few little tweaks. But yeah, I got those pieces cut. I offered them up before I bolted them together. Just put a couple of pieces of threaded 12mm bar, some big washers, and obviously some nuts. Need tightening, but we'll drop that in now, see how it sits. I've already put them in individually, and I think they're going to be fine. But yeah, we'll have a look and see how they fit. And I'm getting ready for a shower, to be honest with you. I'm absolutely black, covered in dust. So humid in here. So that's sitting in there really nicely now. Obviously we're going to have to build it up again, as we're going to do with the rest of the central wall and obviously the outer walls in the pockets where the beams are sitting. So hopefully there should be no drama, but that's more or less sat at the right height. I can now kind of probably tomorrow come in and offer up some pieces of the older timber, the old posts, and cut them to length and cut a little bit more stone out here and there, and hopefully we'll get it you know, we'll get it somewhere near ready for going together permanently. So quite pleased with that. Bit of a faff as it has been all of this end section, and a bit more faffing to do yet, but yeah, it's gone alright. So I think we'll probably call that a day. I just thought to show you these two pieces of wood that I'm going to have picked out to make the lintels above the doorway there. These are the two posts, two of the three posts that held up the big, you know, full length beam, that central beam in this room. We're not going to reinstall it for various reasons. It's now 1.5 meters shorter than it was because I've taken the rot out of it. It's crumbling away at both ends. It's just going to look a bit daft, really, sort of suspended with big gaps at each end. So, but we'll find it'll go back into the building, whether it goes in here or the ones, you know, across the way. It'll definitely stay here, or we'll cut it down and put some of the lintels that, you know, we'll definitely use it. Well, these were the posts that were supporting it. They're about 20 centimeters wide. Just you know, sort of fantastic look to them. They're kind of sort of hand hewn, really. They've just been made to be more square by hand with an axe, you know, however many years ago. So they've got a really nice finish to them. There's obviously some historic worm, but they're very heavy, so they're still obviously, you know, internally the core is going to be strong. They don't need to be particularly strong because they're purely decorative. So we'll get them cleaned up, not now, we'll get them cleaned up, measured, cut, then obviously treated, and they're going to sit in there really nice. We might see if we can get one in this afternoon, you know, one side, and then that's going to, you know, you're really going to be able to see what I've been trying to kind of say all along, what I wanted to do. And hopefully now, with you seeing what I've done with that, then you can see where I'm going with this. You know, that those modern pieces there, put in as the structural support. The main joist will sit on top of that at each side, and then we'll face those with these, and you're not going to see that. Yeah, everything's going to get used, you know, and it's going to be nice to get one of these in there, and you know, have an idea how it's going to look in about 3-4 years' time. Gonna have a bit of a play with this this post. Give it a brush down, give it a bit of a clean off. I'm going to take probably about 5 cm, 2 inch out of this end, just chop it off. There's a little bit of internal rot where this has been sat on the stone floor. There's very little. I can actually, you know, I can get to a point where I can't dig any more out. So it's not a lot, but we'll cut it out. This end I've got this piece of wood that has obviously been used as like a plinth. It's got 4 old nails holding it onto this, so I think this is going to be a bit of a pain to get off, but it needs to come off, so we'll endeavour to do that. So we'll crack on, like I say, get it wire brushed up, get it cleaned up, get this off, cut that end off, and then have a look at it. I know I need about 1m10 is where we need to be, so we'll figure out what the best section is going to be. So we've got that little plank off, we've got this end cut off, showed you a close up, it's absolutely solid there. You know, it's a real, you know, really good hardwood. I'm not sure what it is, maybe it's oak, chestnut, something, I don't know, but it's really good and solid. The other end's perfectly solid, that was at the top basically, that was supporting the main beam. Surprising really that it's got no issues at all, because obviously that end, this was at the far end nearest the back wall, which was the end that had a good metre plus rotten on that big beam. And again, this piece that's underneath it, it's not really suffered. This piece here, I'm going to do what I've done with that other piece of wood that I cleaned up to make a shelf. This will make a lovely little shelf. Doesn't look much at the moment, but give me half an hour. Bit of wire brush down, maybe a bit of sanding, a bit of linseed oil. That'll make a lovely little shelf to put a couple of bits and pieces on. So, you know, we'll put that to one side and do something with that at a later date. So we'll get this brushed down now, cleaned up, and go from there. Right, so that's kind of where I want it to be. I want it to sit just slightly lower than the central joist, than the central lintel, sorry. So that I can potentially put a strip of something on the underside of the joist, something that sort of more resembles this. I'm going to have to take some of this stone off. The main one in the middle is about an inch down from where this is sitting now, so I kind of need to take a bit out the top of this. That means more grinding. Well, anyway, that's giving you a bit of an idea, but we'll get this cut down. Might, yeah, probably be able to just cut across it almost at an angle, so then this is like sort of sitting, you know, into it. It's like cradling it almost. So we'll carry on, do a bit more, and hopefully we'll get that in level and you can see exactly what's going to look like. So I've got this other post around here. I think we're going to take pretty much the central section, central sort of metre 10 that we need. This end we've got, it kind of bulges out a bit, and then we've got this hollow. It's obviously been a knot, I think, of some description. It's a little bit, it's pretty solid to be fair, but you know, can't really integrate it, I don't think. So I'm thinking of taking this end off here and then coming up to probably around here. It's a little bit damp and rotting on this end anyway. It does start to thicken out here. Hopefully we'll be able to make it fit, make it work. So what I want to do is, like I say, chop there. Obviously we'll measure, chop here, and then have a look really and see which side we want to have showing. Right, I've got that cut. Just looking along it now to see what my preference would be. This kind of side is quite nice. Excuse the traffic. There's quite a lot of sort of gouges and marks in it. Don't know what from, but they're quite nice. We've got this really nice knot here. That would look pretty nice, I think, if that was on show. That side's not a huge amount going on there. And then we come to this side, which is nice because it's got these natural sort of splits in it. finally this side, which again there's not a huge amount going on. So really it's kind of a choice between the knot or this nice split, which if I remember rightly the other one's got very similar patterns, so we might go with that, but we'll see. We'll see how it fits in anyway. It's probably going to tell me how it wants to go in, but we'll see. I think once it's cleaned up, because there is another, it's maybe the same knot going all the way through, and this is the kind of end of it here. You can't quite see it, but there's lots of chisel marks where it's been, like I said, been hand hewn. They're just lovely pieces of wood. So we'll get back on with the wall. I don't know what time it is. I think it's probably about 6ish now. I want to do a bit of strimming after 7 once the sun's gone. So I don't know whether we'll get it in tonight, but we'll make a start and see how we get on. So I'm just going to have a couple of minutes, quick experiment. I'm going to whip this out. I'm going to try the other one in different ways and just see how it sits. As I said, I think these beams will probably almost tell you where they want to be. So it may be that just sits in better. It's thinner at one end and it's wider at the other. I think it might just work better with the thinner end in this wall. So we'll whip this out and we'll have a look and see how it sits. Yeah, so that's actually sitting better already. It sits better at this end and it's a tad lower than what the other one was. And with it being wider, it's just sitting nice and flush with the wall. This end being a bit shallower, it's giving me a bit more distance to this central lintel. I need to bring this this way at the front wall end because it's not quite straight with this wall, so I need to chip away a little bit more, but that's no great drama. I mean, one other thing you might be able to see that obviously the central lintel is proud, it's higher than these. Doesn't matter because once the joists are in, we'll then basically build up in between the joists and build up from this up to the floor level, so you're not going to see these central joists at all. So that's no drama, it's no issue at all. So yeah, we've got a very similar look. The natural splits. It's kind of, you know, it's got a nice sort of squarish form. Obviously not perfectly square, but it's how they used to do it. So yeah, I'll probably just keep twirling it around and see how it sits the other way, with the knots, etc. But yeah, quite happy with that. So that's in there more or less. It's sitting a little bit high at the moment. I need to take some out of this stone here. We're just a little bit above the height of the central lintel, so we need to drop it down 30 mil or so. But it's in there nicely, relatively level as it is. I've got the same face that I had when I had it in the other side, which means I've got this nice little cutout, nice little curve on the underside, so that's going to look really nice. They're going to look really good. And yeah, we're finally getting there. It's absolutely running off me. I don't know whether you can see, I'm all disgusting and shiny. It's pushing 40 degrees again today. It's really humid in here now, so I'm going to go out, get a bit of air, and then we'll carry on and do a bit more.